he's hit a larger theme: the failures of monetary policy and the Federal Reserve. It's been a rocky road, let's just say, for Ron DeSantis. The sea has been very bumpy. It's been for a bumpy ride when it comes to Ron DeSantis' national prominence. He hasn't officially announced he's running for president, but he's acting like he is. And this is the first good idea I've seen from him. On a national level, this is the first good idea. I'm excited to hear what he has to say here. Thomas Massie tweeted this article out. That's how I got to it. But in the Wall Street Journal, they said that Ron DeSantis is focusing his book tour as a test drive for his presidential campaign, mainly on his Florida record. But lately, he's hit a larger theme: the failures of monetary policy and the Federal Reserve. So that's a risky topic because a lot of people don't know what that is. We've never seen, other than Ron Paul.
But I sort of have to chuckle when they describe you and me as being dangerous. That's one thing, they are telling the truth, because we are dangerous to the status quo of this country. And we will remain a danger to the Federal Reserve System as well. Yes. And the Fed, right, and the Fed. Ah!
The great Ron Paul, I can't remember a politician that focused their campaign on talking about the Federal Reserve, because you're hitting the money. So most of the time when you have these big donors, they're indirectly tied into the Federal Reserve. So we'll see how this goes. But I like to hear it. Great idea. Let's talk about the Federal Reserve. Speaking last week, Mr. DeSantis criticized the Fed for contributing to inflation by printing trillions and trillions of dollars. It's a private organization. No one's really oversight. There's no audit process. Ron DeSantis did vote. I mean, this was about 10 years ago, but Ron DeSantis did vote for auditing the Fed. Now, he knew at the time it wasn't going to pass, but it's something that's still on his record. Let's hear what he has to say. He had more to say about it. He said that they didn't want to listen when people said, hey, you're printing too much money, and so you had inflation start to percolate. It's funny reading it. He uses those type of words, so you can tell it's him, Ron DeSantis, saying it. So then what does the Fed do? Mr. DeSantis continued, Jerome Powell. Yeah, there's a reason why this is a good chess move. Sometimes you make a chess move and there's multiple bonuses, multiple tentacles you can go out. Who appointed Jerome Powell? Jerome Powell? Not Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump. So he's actually going at Donald Trump. Hey, that's the benefit of it. Good stuff. It's obviously going to create inflationary pressures. We talk about that a lot on the channel. And he's criticized them also for the digital dollar. This is such a great topic. It criticizes Trump. He's hitting at Trump because Trump appointed Mr. Powell, and then Biden reappointed him. So he's also going at Trump indirectly, then going at Biden. And then Mr. Trump attacked Powell for raising interest rates before the pandemic, which was really bad. Trump knew this, in my opinion. It's a legitimate criticism. Trump wanted to keep interest rates as low as possible to keep the bubble going, because he knows he had to go up for a re-election, so long-term interest don't matter for him that much, and he ended up allegedly losing. And Mr. Biden encouraged the Fed to keep rates low as well. Both are free money, weak dollar advocates. Excellent stuff. So let me ask you this. Ron DeSantis right now is light on solutions, but we won't get to solutions until we're open and we can talk about this. So let me be out on this. Mr. Ron DeSantis, does this mean that you agree with Steve Bannon?
The biggest scam they have, the biggest con, is not just the appropriations process and how they fund it. It's the Federal Reserve. Okay? Okay?
Mixed response.
0.5% of the citizens of this country own more assets than the bottom 90%. That's all happened over the last 10 years since 2008.
Populist left, where you at?
We took a monetary base of back in the 80s of $800 billion. The balance sheet of the Fed was $880 billion under President Bush, right? Balance sheet of the Fed is $9.5 trillion today. The debt's $30 trillion. We have $100 to $150 trillion contingent liabilities. all just because we're the prime reserve currency. The greatest export we have is the dollar. But all of that rests on the shoulders of our children and our grandchildren. Those are all due bills that are come due. All we've done is we've just cranked everything up. That's why they're talking about these ridiculous, insane bills of trillions of dollars, because the Federal Reserve will print the money. The Federal Reserve, by the way, that's owned not by the American people, a central bank that's owned by 24 prime brokers, being J.P. Morgan and Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley.
Talk about it.
How does that work? And governors that kind of selected, but, 12 years. And the best governor we've had in the Federal Reserve right here in Dallas, Richard Fisher, who told you what was going to happen by going to negative interest rates, told you what was going to happen by printing all this money and having $4, $5, $6 trillion, $7 trillion, $8 trillion, now $9 trillion on the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve. It's going to cause, you talk inequality, it's not a $15 minimum wage, that's tip money. We have, I think M2 today is what, 22 or 23 trillion dollars.
Money supply.
That's how the administrative state pays for itself. We don't need to audit the Fed. We need to end the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has usurped its power and the power of the American people and our elected representatives. And no, they do not have the consent of the governed. We will not comply. We will not submit, and it must be ended. In closing, let me just remind you, from the founding of this nation up to the founding of the Federal Reserve, for those 100 years, Hamilton versus Jefferson, Andrew Jackson, Abraham Lincoln, Henry Clay, Teddy Roosevelt, William Jennings Bryan, the whole concept of 19th century is almost entirely the politics of money. It was actively debated what the currency was. Who controlled the currency? What was a central bank? Who controlled the central bank? After the Federal Reserve was formed, we've lost that. That is going to be one of the, if not the most major issue we have. We have to end the Federal Reserve. We have to turn it back. That central bank is going to be owned by one group. You know who that group is? The American people. The American people. Not a bunch of fat cat prime brokers on Wall Street. Not guys not third-tier bankers from fifth-tier firms like Powell. You're going to have the American people control their own bank and their own currency.